Hello everyone and welcome to another very nice game from the Louisiana State Championship where Hikaru is currently on 6 out of 6 and he will of course try to make it a 9 out of 9 and not lose any rating points. As we all know, he has to play a certain amount of games for him to be eligible to qualify for the candidates tournament. He already qualifies via the highest rating if Magnus decides not to play, and if Magnus probably will not have enough classical games. Fabi already is qualified, so Fabi can't really, even if he overtakes Hikaru via rating, doesn't really matter. So the next one is Pragnananda, but we already said Prag needs to make up for at least 25 rating points to even be competitive with Hikaru. And these are one of the games that Hikaru will play to achieve that. And his opponent is Nigerian candidate master Charles Campbell. And I think the game really offers a fine insight into what it means for a candidate master to face one of the strongest players in the world. And it's not like you're going to be outplayed on move 5 or a move 10 or a move 15 or a move 20. It's just that it's sort of a culmination of everything. And well, let's just check out the game and see what it's all about. So Charles, who is by the way on 5 points, so if he beats Hikaru with white, he will share first with Hikaru going into round 8 with 6 points both. So okay, pawn to d4, we have pawn to d5, knight f3. Sorry about that. And knight to f6. We have pawn to c4 and pawn to e6. The queen's gambit declined is on the board. We have knight c3, and Hikaru captures on c4. So this is the Vienna variation of the 3 knights, and e4 is very popular, e3 also very popular. Those are basically the 2 moves that are played here. Preparing to recapture on c4, we have a6, bishop captures on b5, and pawn to b5. So all been played before. You can see that both of them are playing instantly. Charles even quicker than Hikaru. Bishop to d3, we have bishop to b7 and castles kingside. We have knight b to d7 and queen to e2. Again, both of them are above hour and 30 minutes, so playing just blitzing out moves. Basically, we have pawn to c5 and rook to d1. Okay, nicely aligning the rook with the black queen. We have c captures on d4, e captures, and bishop to e7, still all known theory. Bishop to g5, we have castles kingside, and knight to e5 by Campbell. Already down to an hour and 13 minutes. Hikaru a little bit better, almost an hour and 20. And there are some games where h6 was played, and knight to b6 is a known move. Hikaru plays knight to d5, and it is now as of move 13 that we have a completely new game. Okay, queen h5. Charles immediately goes for checkmate, and Hikaru could block with pawn to g6. He could bring the other knight over to f6 to attack the queen and defend on h7, or he could play the aggressive pawn to f5. And this is what Hikaru goes for. Knight captures on d5. We have bishop captures, and now bishop to f4. We have knight to f6, kicking away the white queen, queen back to e2, and now queen to b6. So Hikaru very nicely developing his pieces. The light square bishop is a monster here. And now that f5 has been played, this bishop isn't all that impressive here. So if Charles could, he would probably trade it off for Hikaru's bishop on d5. We have bishop back to e3, defending the d pawn. And the rook f to d8. Now, again, preparing maybe to bring the bishop back to b7. Maybe you can double up rooks, rook d6, rook a d8, and put pressure on that d4 pawn. But okay, it's defended by the dark square bishop, so, it's a very active move with the queen, to say the least. We have rook d to c1. Now Charles occupies the only open file on the board. We have queen to b7, not going for bishop to b7, but rather creating a queen-bishop battery. And to stop bishop captures on g2, we have pawn to f3. Also, you could play, some interesting chess here and just allow the g2 pawn to be captured. Point being that after you capture, now f3. And now the bishop is hanging. And if the bishop comes to h3, then you can trade something like captures, rook captures, let's say queen captures, bishop captures, and you get this position with equal material. And okay, the white king is a little bit loose, but Hikaru's king isn't all that safe either. So it's, it's either that or what Charles played. He decided to stop bishop captures on g2, played pawn to f3. We have bishop to d6 and now pawn to a4. Hikaru captures on a4. We have rook captures and now pawn to a5. Okay, bishop to c4. Like we said, of course, Charles would very much love to trade bishops here. Or if, Hikaru, for some reason, decides not to trade, moves the bishop to c6. then it will be very good for him. But now bishop captures on e5, d captures on e5, bishop captures on c4. We have rook a captures on c4. Now Charles also has rooks doubled up on the c file, and the knight d5, going after the bishop, and bishop to g5. We all know that when the bishop and knight are two squares apart, that the bishop nicely controls the knight, and the knight nicely controls the bishop. We have rook to f8, now with some ideas of advancing the pawn to f4 in the future. Rook to c6, putting pressure on the e6 pawn, and Hikaru goes h6. He chases the bishop back. Bishop to e3 now offers a trade of knight for bishop. And here, while you could capture, Hikaru could definitely capture. Let's say captures and queen captures on b2, you would lose the e6 pawn. And okay, it's still equal material, passed a pawn versus the passed e pawn. It's an equal position, so no reason to trade it down unnecessarily into an equal position. So rook a to c8. Hikaru offers to trade off the rooks because the two rooks doubled on the c file are incredibly strong. We have rook captures, rook captures, rook captures on c8 with check, queen captures, and now queen to d2. And here Charles says, all right, I have a bishop versus your knight. Your knight is excellently placed, but what is it really doing? The queen also very nicely controls the knight on d5, and here he says, okay, if you can push, I'm probably going to hold this. So Hikaru starts by centralizing, plays queen to c4. It's a very active move with the queen, although for the moment without any threats. And you should also counter with queen to d4. But it's not easy to go into an endgame against a 2800 player. I know when I play against someone who's even 100 rating points higher rated than me, or let alone 200, 300, and they offer to go into an endgame early, I'm like, yeah, we're not doing that. Sorry. So queen to b6. Sort of a little tactic. If Hikaru decides to capture, then he can give a check and capture back, and then go into queen and pawn endgame with equal material, which is, very likely to end in a draw. But again, against a player like Hikaru, who's to say? So Hikaru just goes pawn to a4, of course, ignores this. We have bishop back to d4 and king to f7. Hikaru signaling that he is, of course, not ready to settle. He will play g5, king to g6, and then continue pushing on the king side. So, something might happen. He is a lot up on time, 17 minutes versus 46, so he will push this. We have pawn to g3, pawn to g5, and now is the question, what do you do here with white? Well, as the strategy was to do nothing and wait for Hikaru to push, that's exactly what you should do. You should just waste the move and do nothing. So play something like bishop f2, Hikaru improves the king, you also do nothing, Hikaru again pushes h5, and okay, you just wait for Hikaru to make a move, maybe queen to d4, and then try and play this endgame. The problem is also the clock, but it's again not an easy decision. Sometimes in chess you feel like you have to do something, otherwise bad things will happen. So he strikes with pawn to h4, and this now gives Hikaru a very, very clear way on how to win the game. G captures on h4, G captures and king to g6. Now Hikaru will just further improve, and the problem for Charles is that Hikaru will put a king on h5, this pawn will be vulnerable, and then any queen trade will be favorable for Hikaru, as he also gets to win a pawn after the queen trade happens. So can that be prevented? Charles starts with pawn to f4. We have queen to b3. Now going after queen g3 check, and then you start winning material. So king to g2, and now how do you win this? There are many good moves here, but there's one that's sort of instant resigns for white. So try to solve it while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on being a true master of the endgame. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is queen d3, believe it or not. Point being that if the queen captures, you lose the f4 pawn with check, and then you also lose the queen, and then you're up a pawn, and then you're, of course, completely winning. There's the passed f pawn to worry about. This pawn is weak. So this is completely winning. So that's why, of course, he declines the queen, plays queen to f2, but now comes king to h5, and this was the plan all along. Just put this pawn en prise, as they say, and or maybe it's in an en prise sort of state. I have no idea. And now it's just a matter of trading queens. And the problem is it's hard for white to make a move. There's really no move that you can make here. For example, if you just try to waste time, king h2, just queen d1. And again, not a lot you can do here. King g2, queen g4 check. You're going to lose that pawn. Even if it doesn't come with check, still queen g4 happens, and then you're going to lose that pawn. So yeah, here it's just a very, very simple endgame to win. So after king h5, it is Charles who initiates the queen trade, and Hikaru happily obliges. Captures, captures, and captures, and now he's just up a past h-pawn. We have bishop to c5, king to h3, bishop to d6, and knight to b6. Now Hikaru preparing knight c4 to go after the bishop and the pawn. So bishop c5, knight c4, and bishop to d4. Again, just nicely defending. Still hoping that he can maybe hold. We have pawn to h5, bishop to c3, and now pawn to h4. We have bishop to d4, knight to d2 with check, king to e2 attacking the knight. And again, what's the simplest way to win? Of course, you guys know you guys are amazing players. You do not need a knight to win this. Hikaru played king to g2, and he was in this position on move 48 that Charles Campbell resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Once he captures the knight or plays anything else, it doesn't really matter. The pawn is unstoppable. You're just going to play pawn to h3. The bishop is helpless here, and then h2, h1, queen, and then you win easily. So this win puts Hikaru on 7 out of 7. He wins the whole, I think maybe it's now even 3 rating points. It was 2 when he was on 6 out of 6. So that's the point. The point is to play enough games to qualify for the candidates, as he already qualifies via the rating spot without losing any games. So this level of games is basically perfect for such a task. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said in the previous video, what do you think about the current FIDE qualification process? Should they drop the rating spot? Is the rating spot good? Maybe it's, maybe let's use the, average rating over the last 2 years. Do we just need the average rating at the moment? Maybe you guys have a completely different idea of how we should do it. It's definitely an interesting topic, which is one of those topics that no one agrees on. So yeah, once again, really hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Hernan Escalante Jr., Robert Kiefer, Edmund Freeman, Stephen Wentworth, and Knight Master Bishop for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.